All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the very last week of ESLP. It's really sad, I know. We just wanted to say, first of all, thank you all for coming and for being here for this quarter. And some of you may have been looking on the schedule of speakers, and we are going to have Kim and Danny from Project H talk about, or Project H Design talk, and then we were also going to have Dick Jackson from the School of Public Health, but he's had a family emergency, so he won't be able to be here. So we're going to have them speak, and then we're going to say a couple things. We just want to sort of close you guys out and say thank you. And we will let you guys out early today. So you can cheer for that if you want. All right, sweet.
Again. So yes, without further ado, we're going to bring up Kim Krause and Danny Phillips from Project H Design. It's the Los Angeles chapter, and they're going to just speak about some great different product design things and how that comes into play with sustainability, which you might not always think that it does. So big round of applause, please.
Okay, so hello everybody. I'm Danny.
I'm Kim.
And we're here today to sort of give you guys a global as well as a local perspective on sustainability from the point of view of design. And so I think maybe to start off as sort of an icebreaker, I mean, sustainability is something, it's a term that I think is used, it's like the most overused term of the 21st century, it seems. And it's so vaguely defined. So what is it? If you guys were to hazard a one-sentence definition of sustainability, what would it be? 5 words. Anybody? I know that's hard. Okay, good. Anybody else? Go ahead. That's a good one. Anybody else? Go ahead. Cool. What we're gonna sort of expand on that and explain what our definition of sustainability is through design. So, and also sort of share with you some experiences that we've had working with an organization called Project H Design over the past year. And so design is something I think that we all understand is everywhere. It's all around us. Is there anybody who is in a design major here at UCLA? Anybody? Where do you guys come from? Is this all environmental science, or what is... Who's represented here today? Political science. No design disciplines? That's a good thing. Huh? Cool. Cool. So I guess maybe just starting off with the idea that design is all around us. There's no escaping it. And design is something that actively constructs and mediates our relationship to each other and to the world. So from the scale of a spoon, to the scale of a seat, to the scale of a classroom, to the scale of a university, design is everywhere. And so if we look at the sort of operative terms of design, maybe a few of you are familiar with this dichotomy, form versus function. Does form follow function? Does function follow form? These ideas have been sort of at the center of our universe for the past 100 years. And it's really asking, what does it look like? What does it do? And so for the past 100 years, this very simple dichotomy has been sufficient to describe what we do. But I think what we know, what we all realize as a young generation, is that we've come of age in a time of peak everything, right? We know that it seems like every planetary system is in a simultaneous state of collapse and crisis, right? And we understand, I think, or we're starting to understand that it's not a matter of morality or choice, but a matter of necessity and survival, that we're going to have to start to deal with things like population, things like peak water, things like peak energy, things like peak food, and the increasing disparity that exists in the developing world. And so in the face of all of these emerging realities, it really starts to render our traditional vocabularies as designers very ineffective, right? So what you're starting to see is that this traditional dichotomy is overlaid with a new sort of complex matrix of concerns that allows design to attain new levels of urgency and new levels of relevancy in the face of all these concerns. So not only what does it look like, what does it do, but performativity. How does it do it? Multivalence. How does it solve multiple problems at once? Sustainability. How does it do more with less? That's my sort of definition of sustainability, doing more with less on a bunch of different levels. Process. Where do things come from? Where do things go? And impact. What are the externalized implications of everything that we design? So if we were to abstract the conventional mode of design practice, or at least the conventional mode of design education over the past 100 years, you would get an equation something like this, right? You have a designer who's kind of a singular genius, tortured, misunderstood genius, who's designing with a client or a market in mind. He designs, and I say he because it's very it's very masculine. It's traditionally design, the world of design, product design, architecture, very masculine thing. He designs objects, right? At the same time you manufacture the objects, you're manufacturing desire to consume the objects, and so the ultimate outcome is consumption, right? And all the externalized ecological and cultural implications that consumption entails. In contrast to this system, what you're starting to see is what the emerging sort of social design paradigm does is it places human needs at the very top of the realm of concerns. We as designers understand ourselves as citizens first and designers second. We are collaborating to produce not only objects but systems and tools that are realized and implemented through economic models of mutual empowerment between the makers and the buyers, with the outcome of measurable positive impact on the communities that we're serving. And so we'll run through some quick examples of object systems and tools, just so you can get a sense. The first one is antivirus. It's responding to the issue in the developing world that accidental contact with infected vaccination needles accounts for hundreds of thousands of cases of HIV, millions of cases of hepatitis. So the question is, how do you create a system that's not overly designed, that's realistic within the context of the developing world, that doesn't have a lot of money or resources to solve this issue? And in this case, the solution was very simple. It was a simple plastic cap that has a fitting relationship with an aluminum can. So it transforms an existing system, right, with a relationship, sort of a codependent relationship. So you have a fitting relationship with a can that transforms the can into a safe and secure repository for infected needles. And so I think when we start to think about sustainability, this is a very beautiful example of doing more with less to solve a very real health concern.
This project is called the Portable Light Project by Maytex, and this is one of my favorite projects. And I think a lot of us kind of take for granted that we can, at any time of the day, turn a switch and get light anytime we like. And I don't think we often think about how much our productivity is due to that. And this project is addressing a lot of nomadic cultures in South America who still aren't on a grid-based system. So their solution was pretty simple. What they did is they gave them lightweight portable solar panels that they could then integrate into textiles that they already produce. So they wear them during the day, they collect energy, and then at night they can be taken off and used either individually or combined to create larger light arrays. And the kids can continue going to classes, parents can continue working, or they can just have a place for a social gathering. And this is a really, it's as much of an infrastructure as our system, and it's realized at the scale of an object. And it's a really beautiful example.
In the same way that the developing world can't turn on a switch to get light, a lot of people cannot turn on a tap to get water, right? So in a lot of developing areas in Africa, you have water that needs to be transported from distant sources into villages. And traditionally, that is something that is done by women and children. And so you could imagine 3 times a day walking 5 to 10 miles each time. There wouldn't be a lot of time to do anything else. We're just starting to understand the health implications of this system. And this is sort of the familiar image of the woman with the bucket on her head transporting water. This, you could imagine, wreaks havoc on your body, in addition to just the arduous, time-consuming pain of doing this 3 times a day. And so the hippo roller is a safer and more efficient tool for transporting water. Instead of 5 gallons, it can hold 24 gallons, which is enough to provide water for a family of 7 for a week. And all it is a rolling drum, a big rolling drum with a big cap on it. And it's very similar to a wheelbarrow, except for it's enclosed, right? So as it rolls, it purifies water. And it not only makes the process quicker, but it makes it more fun. So you have the sort of externalized impact of now it's not only something that is done by the women because the men find it fun. They do it more. And the women have more time to do things like raise their kids, right? Start businesses. So it's a great example of design thinking that's used as an instrument of very real or very measurable social transformation. And so sort of along these lines, Project H is a global coalition of diverse designers all responding to local issues. So we have a set of core values that structures how we think design should operate as an agent of good in the world, but the real focus of the organization is action-based local initiatives that are organized by volunteers. So it's very bottom-up.
And I think some of the other projects kind of address the fact that a lot of people consider these social issues as being only third world. But when we kind of take the time to look in our own backyard, there's plenty of projects for us to get our hands on. So we like to say that Project H is relevant everywhere and based nowhere. We're 3 years old, and we have 10 global chapters all over the world, and we are the LA chapter. We had that. So we here in the city we're only about a year and a half old, and we meet once a week on Sundays downtown in the heart of Skid Row. And we consider ourselves part-time design industry refugees. And we come from a lot of different backgrounds, including product design, architecture, fashion, communication arts, fine art, and business, as well as science.
And so we're trying to find ways that we can use our specific sets of skills to benefit the people who need it the most in our communities. Luckily for us, but perhaps not so luckily for LA, there's a bunch of equally urgent issues to choose from in this city, not the least of which is homelessness. LA, as some of you may know, is the capital of homelessness in the nation. Twice as many homeless as New York. This is an image showing some of the existing encampments, high concentrations in the Santa Monica, Venice area, but really sort of the epicenter being downtown in an area called Skid Row, which is about a 20-block radius where there's thousands of people homeless on any given night. And any of you who have probably, has anyone driven through these areas at night? It's a pretty scary place for everyone involved, right? And so it's a very complicated thing. What do you guys think are the causes of homelessness? If you had to, there's plenty here, and there's not a right answer.
Mental health and no access to health care for that.
Mm-hmm. Certainly.
There's a lot of people who were committed to psychiatric institutions were released when Reagan was governor.
That's right. That's right. That's actually a really good point. There was a time and we can talk about this later in more detail, but in the mid-'80s where that happened, and it was a major issue, and we're still trying to recover from it today. Anybody else want to hazard? It's a complicated issue, and like I said, there's no easy answers. Some of the things that we found were that throughout the course of any given year, there's 250,000 people who go homeless in the city. So that's enough to kind of give you a sense of the numbers here. That's enough to fill Dodger Stadium 4.5 times, right? On any given night, 80,000 people homeless. What we found is that 20% of these people are actually employed, which is a pretty staggering statistic. And about half don't receive the public benefits to which they're entitled. So what this essentially started to tell us about the homeless situation is that there is a huge constituency of people who are undervalued, underutilized, but incredibly capable, and that need more help than they're currently getting. And so how do we as designers start to respond to something as diverse and something as difficult as homelessness, right? We started to look at in addition to the problem at hand, we started to look at some of the other local resources we had available to us. So the fact that Skid Row happens to coincide also with the fashion district in downtown, which is a very vibrant place. It's a crazy place if you guys have ever been there. And it's a major economic driver for the city still. And the fact that since LA is this bustling metropolis, produces a lot of waste, right? So there was an idea very early on of how do we harness these local resources in a way that transforms our approach to the problem. And so the project itself is predicated on a very simple idea that sort of gets to the heart of how we deal with the homeless situation in general. And that is that we want to try and find a way to move beyond a passive handout model that only perpetuates cycles of dependency. We want to try and find an active, what we call a hands-on model that targets homeless and ex-homeless people to seek creative means of self-sufficiency. So it's very similar or very akin to the old adage, if you give a man a fish, he eats for a day. If you teach a man to fish, he eats for a lifetime.
So with all of this research led us to what we created as calling an adaptable model for design outreach. And we call this project Abject Object. So we started off by partnering with the Downtown Women's Center, which is an all-women's facility downtown. And we started working with some of the women they're helping, and who are all in a place where they're actively seeking some sort of independence or self-sufficiency through therapy, permanent housing, or job training. And I think something interesting to note is a lot of these women, yes, some of them were mentally ill or recovering from drug and alcohol abuse, but a lot of these women, a lot of it had to do with poverty, also with just having large families that they couldn't support, not being able to get enough public support for that. And many of them have college degrees and come from very well-off backgrounds, which is something we kind of found surprising. But to go back to what it means to develop creative skills, in this project specifically, we're dealing with hand and machine sewing, as well as collaboration and communication. And we also wanted to make objects that are relevant for the user as well as the maker. And to do this, we started working with a couple of the women from the permanent housing at the Downtown Women's Center. And they gave us some feedback. They started from scratch with us and just kind of let us know what objects would be relevant to them, what they would like to see, what they would like to use. And also kind of really helped us figure out what was feasible. Some of the women are older. They have arthritis, poor eyesight, back pain, things like that. And it was a very clear indicator for us if they couldn't do it or if it was uncomfortable for them, then we would automatically scratch the idea and move on. So it was a very helpful way to kind of develop the project. And the main hope of Abject Object is that we as Project H will partner with nonprofits around the city like Downtown Women's Center get this program started, get the project started, introduce it through workshops and skill building, and then leaders and teachers will start to emerge from those groups, and they will ultimately start to carry on the project, where at that point, Project H can step back a little bit and let the nonprofits and the people working the program kind of take over and become their own social enterprise. So, yeah, that's okay. I can also start talking about some of our different partnerships. Another one we work with is Krause, and aside from Downtown Women's Center. And the reason we're really attracted to working with them in the first place is because they take very unconventional methods of outreach. For example, culinary training, art therapy, therapy through gardening, yoga, things like that. They're doing some really interesting things. Another set of partners that we work with are local businesses and manufacturers around the city who have, bike tire liners, donated clothing, fabric scraps, old parachutes, things that are still perfectly fine to use. They just don't have the space or the resources to keep them, and they would be thrown out otherwise. So we work with them to collect those materials and to repurpose them into something new. And the last group of partners that we work with are companies like, I'm sure you guys have all heard of Tom's Shoes, possibly Art Technica or Good Magazine. These places, these companies and publications and organizations are doing things that are also in the realm of what we're interested in doing: sustainability, the social good, local projects, and they've been around for a while. It's just like up until now we've all been working pretty independently, and lately we've started to combine our resources, work together, and really make our presence felt, which is nice.
So there's really sort of a really vibrant community or social design culture that's starting to emerge in LA, and that's what this is starting to try to show you.
So we also want to talk to you for a second about our adaptable model for outreach and how we had to test that by creating a series of objects. And so the concept for that was something we call transformable textiles. And it's transformable on a lot of different levels. All of the objects literally transform from one thing into another. Obviously, the materials are transforming from something that would be thought of as garbage or waste into something valuable that can be sold again. And also, the women and the men we're working with, the transformation of building skills that they can use beyond this project and in, hopefully in other parts of their life. And these images kind of show our process of kind of how we develop those objects. It was the first 8 months of the project, and as you can see, it was a really hands-on experience and really fun. We met once a week for about 4 or 5 hours, and it was a lot of making and talking, very much like a sewing circle kind of, and we had a great time. So the first project, or the first object, is called the pocket scarf. And basically, it's a scarf that has different areas that can hold small objects on the body. And when not in use, it can be used as storage against the wall, on the wall. And
Should I pass these around?
yeah.
Okay.
Maybe you hold it up and explain it and then pass it.
Yeah. Danny will demonstrate for you.
So what I really love about this project is it sort of tells the story of someone who is moving from a homeless situation to a permanent housing situation, right? A situation where they're carrying all their belongings on them and moving to a place where they have their own wall that they can hang their belongings on, right? So it really sort of talks about that transition from...
And that one is supposed to have grommets. Sorry.
And this one, oh gosh, here, this one does. And so that's what the grommets are.
So the second object is the hood bag, which we do not have a prototype of right now. But it's a hood, scarf, and mitten set that can be transformed into like a side satchel or a side bag. And I didn't tell, well, we're product people, we're going to nerd out for a minute. But we used all the donated clothing as liners for both of these products. So each one is different. It's like cut up T-shirts or sweaters or button-down shirts, and when you open it up, the insides are all different. This product is called the Rag Rug, and it's a module, a versatile module system, and it's interesting for a couple of reasons. Well, first I should tell you what it can turn into. It's a kind of a more of an open object. It's like it could be a floor rug. It could be a wall piece. You can use them individually for a pot holder or a coaster or a rag or something. But the reason this one is interesting is because we partnered with Tom's Shoes to kickstart their take-back program. So the idea is that their old shoes can be collected and reused into and repurposed into something new. So the fabric from these shoes are the surface of this object. And it also utilizes all of the fabric waste from the other two projects, from the rag rug and from the hood bag, so that there's no excess. And last but not least, this is the hammock bag. This is made out of parachutes, bike tire liners, and old tires. And basically, it's just a big bag that can be worn around the body that can unfold into a full-size hammock, which we're going to demonstrate for you, and we need volunteers.
Okay, fine. So this is the detail with the bike tire inner tubes. This is an old parachute. This is like a tire inner tube from a Big Mac truck, and we're still trying to find something appropriate that we could reuse instead of the new rope. But here it is in its bag configuration. Go ahead. The weight capacity is, right now, this prototype is, it'll hold Kim.
So I'm not telling you.
Okay, so I need, and I'll prove it to you, okay. So I need a strong,
you have a tall, strong
just as
person?
strong as I am, and that's not saying much.
Do we have a daring small person that would like to go into the hammock?
No, it's going to be Kim.
No. Anyone? Someone smaller to go inside of it? Anyone? Go ahead.
Oh, you're going to get inside? No, you're going to help me hold it. Okay. So this is the one, I've just untied, in the interest of time, it doesn't take that long to transform, but basically the rope that gets coiled within the strap here uncoils to give you the slack that you need for the hammock. So if you hold that in.
Can I climb in?
Then we expand it along the length. We'll put it on the ground, but we expand it along the length here. Okay. We don't have insurance. Okay. And then, well, you would tie it on, obviously you would tie it on whatever you were going to tie it on first. And then it becomes... Okay.
Thank you. So that's the hammock bag. So now we'd like to kind of talk to you a little bit about how the workshops work and how we introduce this project to the women at the Downtown Women's Center. And we did this through a series of workshops. Kind of how we start is they can learn the skills by choosing one of the objects to make for themselves. And one of the most popular ones is the pocket scarf. And as you can see down in the corner, that's Teray and Dorothy. Those are the two of the women that we work with. It's funny, we got a big kick out of it because they come in usually wearing their favorite colors, and then they end up making scarves that match, and then they go and decorate the room with it. But it's great because we run into them from time to time if we're visiting the center, and they totally rock them. They wear them all the time, which is nice. But one of the main problems that we had in the beginning of the workshops is getting the women to kind of make a commitment. The scarf is usually when you're just learning how to make it takes 3 to 4 weeks, and some of the women were only coming for 1 or 2 weeks, and we couldn't get them to come back and complete the project. So we developed something called time banking with the Downtown Women's Center, where they go through an interview and application process, and then they're compensated for their time by receiving points that they can redeem for things that they need, like dishes or clothes or cosmetics, things like that. And now the workshops are going much smoother, and we've been, I would say, in our 4th month right now of working with them to do that. So we also want to keep in mind that we want to kind of find a balance of creating objects that are affordable, but that also can pay the women. And what we've done is all of them are priced between $40 to $100. Have little overhead costs because all of them are made with found materials, and they can all be made once you're trained in less than 3 hours. And the idea is that we would do equal profit sharing between the makers, the nonprofits, and Project H. So our ultimate goal for this is to continue working with the women and to ultimately sell these either online through our own website and also local businesses and stores, and then take this model and send it off to the chapters around the world so that they can test it out in different cities, and this can become a standard practice.
And that's kind of a general goal of Project H, is that the chapters are going to start cross-pollinating their ideas. So there's a local initiative, for example, in New York that has to do with empowerment through food, and there will be a situation in the future where we're starting to merge and share ideas and expand. And so, in conclusion, I'll stop with this quote, which is, "You never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, build a model that makes the existing model obsolete," by one of my favorite designers of all time, Bucky Fuller. Does anyone know who that is? Awesome. I'm sure you guys have studied him in here. So if we haven't converted anybody into the world of design, that's okay. But I hope that we have demonstrated that it's a really exciting time for design, and that it can start to provide a language of connectedness between all of the different things that we face in the 21st century, and hopefully have fun at the same time. Thank you.
All right. Thank you guys very much. So, yeah, we're almost at the end here. Basically, we just all three wanted to say a little piece. We've put a lot of work into this whole project, so we just wanted to give a little farewell. We'll be out here within 5 minutes, I promise. I guess I'll start. I just want to say thank you to all you guys. The three of us have been at this for going on 6 months now, getting this whole thing organized and run, and it's been really gratifying having such a strong class. This is the biggest ESLP ever at UCLA, and also the best, officially. But yeah, so I just want to say thank you to all you guys for making that happen. And then also, please give a huge round of applause right now to Haley and Isis. This may appear like it's 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. In terms of work, it's more like 5%, 95%. And like, I'm not saying that to be modest at all. Like, I'm dead serious. So it's pretty fortunate that I get to work with two intelligent and hardworking and beautiful ladies like Haley and Isis. So good luck with finals, and I'll see you guys around.
And I just want to sort of second all those things, especially the beautiful part. But really, you guys, this has been really amazing for all of us. And I told you guys at the beginning that I was going to go abroad this quarter and that I stayed because I really wanted to teach this class. And I'm really glad that I did, because this has been just really rewarding and really incredible. And I just want to encourage all of you guys, if there was any sort of moment that happened this quarter, and I hope something happened for each of you guys, if there was a speaker, if there was something that somebody said in your guys' discussion, when you were doing those fun little improv games, whatever it is, if there was something that got you guys inspired, excited about sustainability, excited about UCLA, whatever it is, we just want to make sure that you guys keep following those things and keep being inspired and excited about everything, because there's so much to be excited about. We saw there were a lot of problems, but there's also a lot of solutions. So thank you guys so much for an amazing quarter.
So this is my second time helping lead the class, so that would almost be my 18th lecture up here, and I've loved it every single time, and I hope that you guys are inspired by all of these speakers and maybe by us, and hopefully some of you will, step up to the plate and become a leader in whatever organization out there, whether it's on campus or after school. We're all going to be graduating soon, and I just hope that for all of you, when you get to be seniors or all the seniors that are already out there, think about what kind of jobs you're looking at and maybe see how this could fit in. I think you'd be surprised. You guys saw how many different topics sustainability covers, and maybe what you're looking to get into, you could kind of be that guiding light for the company you join and, take a stand and pass along all of the information. So I'd also like to say thank you to Haley and Spencer. And really quickly, we wanted to introduce the lecture leaders for next year. So Sandy and Eden, you guys want to stand up? So hopefully some of you guys will enroll again in the fall. I'm sure they'll have a great new speaker lineup. And we'd love to have a third lecture leader. So if any of you want to come up and talk to us or talk to either of them afterwards, hopefully we can have another triumvirate. So yeah, with that, have an amazing rest of your lives if we don't see you again. And please keep using us as a resource. If you have any questions about sustainability, you can always email us. We'll keep the same email. So it was nice knowing you.
Bring back our prototypes.
Yeah, bring back their prototypes.